Once upon a time, in a magical land called Harmony. The land was called Harmony. 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 There lived a wise old elephant, and we'll bring him in. He was wise, and his name was Josef Sage. He was a wise elephant, and he was famous all over the land for two things: his wisdom and his compassion. Animals all over really respected him, from the birds that flew to the owls, who were also birds. And then there were the bears in the area that respected that elephant. So did the reindeer. They all respected him, and he was very lovable. They came from wide and far seeking his advice. They wanted to know what was going on, and they listened to that wise elephant. And they shared with Joseph their problems. One day, Joseph noticed a young squirrel, and that squirrel came on the scene. And Joseph, the wise elephant, noticed that squirrel, and he thought to himself, wonder what his problem. The squirrel's name was Squeaky. 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 That was the squirrel's name. Squeaky was known for his love of nuts. He just loved nuts, and he would eat them every chance he could get. He was eating those nuts. He was addicted, really, to those nuts, and he couldn't stop thinking about them all the day long and all the night. He didn't have time for his friends or any other activities because he was eating nuts and he was thinking about nuts. His obsession was beginning to harm his life. Joseph Sage decided to help Squeaky deal with his addiction, deal with his problem with shiny acorns. He invited Squeaky to his home and shared with him the secret to overcoming a habit, particularly a bad habit. Bad habits are usually caused a particular thing. They're usually called addictions. Addtion. They're usually called addiction. And the first step, step number one, Joseph Sage was telling Squeaky, step number one is to overcome an addiction or something that you got a habit of doing is to become aware of it. Because a lot of times when you're addicted to something or when you got a bad habit, you're not aware. So you can't change the behavior until you become aware of it. You got to know that, this is a problem. I need to do something about that. Well, Squeaky nodded his head and he decided to practice overcoming his addiction to shiny acorns. Over the next few days, he started noticing how often he thought about shiny acorns and how they controlled his life. This newfound awareness made him feel real sad. He was sad because he really realized what a problem being addicted to acorns were. But he was hopeful that he could change. And then number two, Joseph Sage told him, was this. This is the second step, Squeaky, he said. To overcome an addiction or a bad habit, you must replace it with something positive, something you like to do that's not negative, that's not harmful, that's more fulfilling. Find a hobby or an activity that brings you joy and helps you grow. Well, Squeaky said, I can climb trees, I can play with my friends, I can do a lot of things. So Squeaky took Joseph Sage's advice and started exploring new activities. He discovered a love for painting. Squeaky decided that he wanted to paint, and he started painting too. He started painting pictures, and he became pretty good at it, as a matter of fact, at painting pictures. And he started drawing, and he found that it was fulfilling to him. And he found joy in playing with his friends. And also, he found joy in helping them with their problems, helping them with what was going on in their life. So, in addition to painting, he started focusing on something and someone other than himself. Over time, as he focused on these positive activities, and they were positive, he loved painting. He loved being with his friends. As he focused on these things, these activities, his obsession with these shiny objects, these shiny nuts and acorns, began to fade over time. They began to stop altogether. Finally, Joseph Sage taught Squeaky the importance of what he called self compassion. Don't be so hard on yourself, Joseph Sage said. Remember, my dear friend, that everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has some bad habits. It's important to be kind to yourself and forgiving to yourself as you work on overcoming a bad habit or an addiction. Squeaky practiced self-compassion. He also practiced forgiving himself, and he began to see and accept himself. Acceptance sometimes of yourself, of self, can help you overcome many problems in your life. He understood that overcoming his addiction would take time, it would take patience, and it would take effort. But he was committed to change. And over time, Squeaky began to change. Squeaky changed. And his addiction to shiny acorns disappeared. His life became richer because he could paint. He had friends that he could play with. His life became more fulfilling as he focused on his art and he focused on his friendships and he focused on helping others. He was grateful to Josef Sage for teaching him the wisdom to overcome his addiction, his bad habits, and to find true happiness. From that day on, Squeaky would often share the lessons he learned from Josef Sage, especially how to be in harmony with the world in which you live. His story of transformation inspired all the other animals, and they began to see the wisdom. This transformation changed everybody, and the magical land of harmony became an even happier place where everyone supported each other in their quest for growth and self-discovery. The end.